Yes, sir.
Okay, so let us start our class today. And before starting our class, we will be heading to a new topic of bioprocess, where we will we will talking about the Baker's yeast. So in our last classes, we have discussed about the ethanol fermentation, and we were mostly talking about that how we can. So we have looked into different aspects, starting from how we can produce. So we have already talked about the three steps. One is the upstream process, midstream, and the downstream processes. So we have seen into what are the microorganisms such as bacteria or the yeast that can be used for the production of the ethanol. Then we looked into what are the substrates that can be used. So, and this each and every substrates needs to be processed in some form in such a way that we have the the sugars or or the glucose sources which acts as a source of a food to the microorganisms, and then the microorganisms have their own pathways by which they can convert. For example, in this case, we have taken the glucose and that is converted into the ethanol. So, and we have seen that, for example, if you have a bacteria or if you have a yeast, so both of the pathways for the yeast is different than for the pathways that is followed by the bacteria. And the bacterium in this case was the Gymnomonas mobilis, and the yeast that we used was the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, so we looked into the difference in the pathways, and then once suppose you have the understanding, you have selected, for example, the microorganisms, and you have looked into the biosynthetic pathways. Next, what we do was the selection of the appropriate reactor systems for the fermentation. So it can be a batch process or it can be a continuous process. So, and there can be, the batch type, fed batch type, or continuous reactor types that are there. And after that, we have to make sure that we when you are growing the bacteria or the yeast in a fermenter, we need to optimize several parameters in that, like the temperature, pH, okay, the what is the oxygen concentration, ethanol concentration, because these are going to play a significant role in how much the yield of the ethanol is being carried out after the fermentation has been done. So these parameters we have to optimize so that we obtain the high concentration of your final product, that is the ethanol. Now, once you have obtained the ethanol, then you have to separate. So, what is happening in the fermenter? You have the microorganisms, right? Then we have the ethanol, okay, and we have some sort of a byproduct. So, if your final product ethanol, that has to be separated from the microorganisms and the other byproducts. So, for that, you have the several downstream processes, and in the case of the ethanol fermentation, we have the distillation. So, we looked into that what how we can actually separate the because ethanol we know is a volatile liquid, so we can, by application of appropriate temperature of heat, which it corresponds to the boiling point of ethanol, we can vaporize the ethanol from the mixture of the different components. Okay, so we looked into those distillation part, and then we looked into the bioreactors. So what are the different components of the bioreactor, and inside the bioreactor what is happening, the cells are dividing. Okay, so we need to, when the cells are dividing, we need to maximize the growth rate so that we have the maximum biomass density within the bioreactor. And one thing that we have noted during the ethanol fermentation was that it was carried out in a anaerobic process, that is, it was carried out in the absence of the oxygen. Okay, and whatever the ethanol is being produced, that we have seen, so we generally go for the distillation to extract the high purity and high concentration of the ethanol, because that is being used for the when we require the ethanol as a fuel. Okay, so we need to have very high purity as well as high concentration of the ethanol. Okay, and we looked into that it can be mixed with the the petrol or the diesel or the the gasoline at different ratios, and and it can be used as an alternative, a sustainable fuel alternatives. Okay, because we are obtaining the ethanol. So carbon source for the this utilization of for the derivation of the ethanol is from the agricultural waste or any other waste sources. So therefore we we assume that whatever the ethanol as a fuel is a sustainable alternative compared to the petroleum based derivative which we are obtaining it from the fossil fuels. Okay. So now next in today's class we will start with another topic which is called the Baker's yeast production. So Baker yeast is nothing but the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So if you see the Baker's yeast, as the name suggests, so this Baker's yeast is being used in the for example in the bread making applications, because for example in the dairy products or the bakery products we need to have a that fluffy nature of the products are required. Okay. So generally yeast are added when you are going to prepare, for example in the food industries especially, which are involved in the production of the breads, the cakes and so on. So we need to add a certain type of yeast. Okay. So that yeast is called as a baker's yeast because it is used mostly in the bakery. But if you see scientifically what is that yeast is, so it is nothing but the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay. So so this is the means this is the particular yeast that actually is the main component of this baker's yeast. And in our last classes for our ethanol production, we have seen that if we use this particular yeast, okay, then it can be used for the production of the ethanol. Okay, under the anaerobic condition. So under the anaerobic condition means it is the absence of the oxygen. So in this today's in subsequent these classes, what we will be seeing is that how we can produce the higher concentration of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And in this case what we are going to see is how we can produce that in the presence of oxygen. So generally it has been found that Saccharomyces cerevisiae actually in the absence of the oxygen it produces ethanol, but in the presence of the oxygen what is happening, the biomass of this, the biomass means the concentration of the cells of these Saccharomyces cerevisiae actually increases, okay, drastically. Okay, and that this Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that yeast, that biomass can directly be used in the food products or for the making of the bakery products and so on. Okay, so our main objective in this particular bakery's production will be to understand how we can increase the biomass concentration of this particular yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and we will look into both the upstream and the downstream processes. So as we take into consideration that in the presence of oxygen the biomass is going to form, so we would look into the what is the biochemical pathway. The biochemical pathway is actually different from the ethanol production. So by using the same microorganisms, if you would target to produce ethanol, the pathway is different. And if you would like to produce the higher biomass concentration, the pathways will be different. Then there are several, the production strategies, like what will be the optimum substrate concentrations, the growth media components that will be there, what will be the raw materials that need to be added, what should be the fermentation conditions like the pH, temperature, the as we have told you about the oxygen, the presence of oxygen. So we need to in this case we need to supply a particular, the concentration of the oxygen to the fermentation media, so that we have the production of the biomass and we don't have the any production of the ethanol. Okay, so we will look into those things, how these fermentation conditions are controlled and how the parameters are optimized so that we obtain the higher baker's yeast, the baker's yeast concentration or the biomass. So before we start this the baker's yeast, the discussion on that, on the technical terms, let us look into a brief historical perspective. So the baker's yeast, has been in the means the production of this type of yeast for the addition of in the bakery products and the doughs, for example, have been in act for quite long in our from the prehistoric times. But so that particular technology means that particular simple understanding of how the yeast can be used, for example in the doughs or in the making of the cakes or the breads, to bring the fluffy nature of it, has and down the line how it become the in the industrial product. So now if you see The Becker's is one of the one of the most widely used microorganisms as a food product directly. Okay, so we will see how and why it become important that means how from the prehistoric time that one particular microorganism that has been already used, why it is being currently means industries has been developed which actually specifically works in the works towards the development of the Becker's yeast product. So if you see in the prehistoric times, like as I told, so generally what was taken, the cereals were taken, okay, and they were actually fermented, okay, and the fermentation was carried out in the natural conditions. And so like we have seen that in the if you have a particular bioreactor, during that what are the advantages we have seen that compared to the natural fermentation processes. If the fermentation is carried out in a bioreactor, what is there, the temperature, pH, and for example the concentration of oxygen and other parameters can be controlled, and we can maintain the aseptic conditions. However, when we are doing this type of natural fermentations, okay, so the aseptic conditions, the fluctuation of temperature, pH, and the oxygen takes place, and that actually affects the fermentation process. And during that means the quality of the product or the biomass that is being produced is going to vary. So why? Because if the temperature, pH, and oxygen is going to fluctuate, the microorganism, the growth of the microorganisms within that bioreactor is going to change. Okay. So in the prehistoric times, what used to happen? The cereals were taken and they were fermented, and the liquid from those fermented cereals was used as an alcoholic beverages. Okay, and there was a after means during the fermentation, what was used to happen is was the cereals. Cereals, as you know, it was different type of cereals like rice and different were taken for the fermentation. So during the fermentation, whatever the liquid part generally, which was on the top part of the fermenter, was used for the alcoholic beverages. But in the bottom there was some semi-solid mash, okay, which was nothing but the the microorganisms, or in this case we can say the yeast that was left behind. So it was like in form of semi-solid mesh, and that was actually used as a in the formation of dough and the baking products. Okay, so so this was actually added. But this particular the semi-solid part portion was added into dough and the bakery products. But if you see that the liquids that form the fermented mash was used for the means they were from the product of they form the product ale. Now what is the ale? Ale is nothing but it is a alcoholic beverages, and it contains the alcohol content of almost 4 to 5%, and the rest product, the semi-solid mesh, that was it formed the part of the bread making process. Okay, and both of this, in this case the stain was the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So this particular stain, the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, was used, and it was used for the production of both the alcoholic beverages as well as the as well as the solid semi-solid mash that was left behind after the fermentation was used in the bread making. And this used to continue until, for example, the 19th century. But there were several disadvantages of that. So what were the disadvantages? So we look into that, what are the disadvantages of having the single microorganisms for the production of both the alcoholic beverages as well as the breads. So one of the that dough that we are having, or in the generally in the bread making process, it is some sort of a paste like material. Okay, and if you would like to grow the microorganisms within that type of semi-solid or the pasty like or like materials, so it actually have a high osmotic pressure. Why? Because in the doughs, the if you compare, for example, a fermentation process in which if you are growing the microorganisms in a liquid culture, and a fermentation process in which you are growing your microorganisms in a dough or in a semi-solid structure, what is happening? The moisture content or the content of this aqueous environment is going to, the aqueous content of the both the systems are going to be different. Okay, and obviously in the dough there will be a very less concentration of the aqueous or the aqueous things. Aqueous component is very low, and because of that, what is used to happen was it is having a high osmotic pressure, and the microorganisms, these particular stains, cannot tolerate such high osmotic pressure in the dough. And what used to happen, the productivity, or the the increase in the biomass concentration with the time, the rate of growth of this biomass organization with the time was very slow. Okay, the compared. So if you would like to, for example, so in this case, as I told you, we are main target is to get the higher biomass concentration of this Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So if you wanted to grow in the presence of in a dough, then actually it was very difficult to obtain this higher biomass concentration, because the cells were prone to these high osmotic pressures in the presence of the dough. Okay, and then another difficult, so this was the first challenge that was faced if you are growing, for example, this particular yeast in the presence of the dough. And another problem was like when we are having the fermentation process, and you are, for example, taking out the liquid component which forms the alcoholic beverages, and then we have the bottom settled part of the semi solids. Okay, so it was very much difficult to separate from the distilled mash. So what is happening when we have these settled semi solids on this fermenter, it is a combination of the yeast as well as the cereals. So some part of the cereals, or the, like the rice and other components that were there, they were not fermented. So they actually also used to settle at the bottom of these type of fermenters, and it was very difficult to separate the yeast and the distilled mash, which is nothing but the different cereals and the unfermented products that are there. So these were the two basic challenges uh, that led to lower growth of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae under this drought condition, and it led to the establishment of a separate industries which was targeting towards the production of this Baker's yeast in a commercial scale. Okay, so if you look into the traditional route of the fermentation of this Baker's yeast, so as I told you, people used to take the cereals and then ferment them, and take the upper part, which is the liquid part, which forms the alcoholic beverages, and the bottom part, which forms the yeast and was used in the bread making and other application. But how does the seeding was done? Seeding means seeding or the inoculation means that whenever you start a fermentation, so we have already talked that if you have going to start a fermentation, and you have a bioreactor or any fermenter filled with the different growth media components, you need to add a very small portion of the microorganisms. Okay, and that microorganisms will then grow, increase its biomass concentration, and then it will going to produce the desired product. So generally in the traditional fermentation, how the fermentation was carried out. So generally, if one batch was produced, a small portion of these yeast cells would be taken, and it would have been inoculated to the another batch. Okay, and so this method of inoculation from taking this from the previous batches, okay, and to a new fermentation process, they had both the advantages as well as their disadvantages. So what is the advantages? So the advantages is that like when you are having from the previous culture, you are going to inoculate into a fresh medium. The advantage is that it forms a part of an active fermentation. So what is an active fermentations? So active fermentations means that we have seen that in a fermentation process, the microorganisms undergo a different phases. Like it has a lag phase. Okay, it has the for example, it has the exponential phase, and then it goes to the stationary phase. So if we are during the active fermentation, so suppose we are taking out an inoculum, and then we are adding it to a into a fresh fermentation process. It is very important, so when you are adding that, we don't know at what stage the microorganisms are there. Is it in their stationary, is it in their exponential phase, or they are in their stationary phase? So if we take a microorganism which is they are in the stationary phase, then what will happen in the and you are putting it into a second fermentation process, what is happening going to happen, the yield and the productivity of that second batch will be lower. Okay, so that is one of the disadvantage. And another disadvantage is that when you are suppose taking a small inoculum, uh, and in this case of this, when we have these cereals or the traditional fermentation process, as I told you, the aseptic condition is not maintained. Okay, so aseptic condition means that contamination by the other microorganisms and other those things are present in those type of traditional fermentation processes. So if you take an inoculum, and if somehow during the transfer or during the fermentation process, this fermentation has been contaminated with other microorganisms. Okay, so that would actually, if you is subcultured, what will happen? That contaminated microorganisms will grow. It's and then it is going to interfere with the productivity of your, for example, the baker's yeast. So we can see that there are several disadvantages. One being the osmotic pressure, the second being the separation of these yeast from the distiller masses, and the third being that the maintaining of the aseptic condition, because this type of fermentation, mostly the baker's fermentation, are based on the method of inoculation from the preceding fermentation. That means from the earlier fermentation, a small portion is taken out and then it is added to a second fermentation, and then from second fermentation a small portion is used for the third fermentation. So generally that is the basic technique for the baker's yeast, the for the inoculation. And during these type of traditional processes, there were several occasions of the contaminations, and that acidic conditions are not maintained. Now so when we are having this type of the propagation method, like we are taking a particular amount of yeast from the semi solid part, and then you are inoculating. So there are both, as I told you, the both advantage and the disadvantage. One being that means we don't know at what stage the microorganisms are growing, and the other thing is that so as I told you, this yeast generally is in form of a dough, so it is like a semi-solid. Okay, so that semi-solid characteristics actually have the disadvantage. So if you have looked into some of the doughs, or when it is like the breads, before the bread is baked, we have in the breads the different component of cereals are added with the yeast, and generally it is having a plastic like consistency. So it is like in form of a very thick, thick solid like paste, like which it can be easily molded, or is can be easily so it is most having some sort of a plastic like nature. So plastic like nature means it can be easily be transformed into any shape or structure. So but what are the means, as I have already told you, so when we are adding the yeast in the dough, and for example we keep it we leave it for some time under the, suppose, the room temperature conditions, so what is expected? That the yeast that is present in the dough will be growing. Okay, and because in the dough we have all the the sugars derivatives, which can be used up by the yeast and can be used for its metabolism, and it should what will happen, it should grow in the in their biomass concentration. But ideally it doesn't happens because of the semi solid nature of the dough. So because of the semi solid nature, the efficient transfer of the growth nutrients to the microorganisms or to the yeast is not possible, and generally yeast grows very slowly in the doughs, and they have a long fermentation times. Okay, so if you see in this particular table, it shows the characteristics of the yeast farm. So we have told that the yeast can be used for for the production of the bread, as well as for the different alcoholic beverages. So if we see, if we compare the fermentation time, if we compare the effect of pH, the effect of the yeast cell count means the biomass concentration. Okay, and then the final ethanol concentration that is being produced. So we can see the very basic differences. So if you see, for example, in the case of the bread dough, so generally the fermentation time is from 1 to 5 hours. But if you look into the biomass concentration, which is nothing but the yeast, so at the start, if we start with the 275, so here it is cell count. So cell count means it is the million of cells per ml or per gram of that particular the yeast culture that is being added. So it is found that at the start it is having a cell count of 275, but at the end it is having a cell count of only of 300. So there is an increase of only the 25 cell count in the time period of fermentation time period of 1 to 5 hours. So we can see that in the present, if you would like to grow the yeast in the bread or dough or structure, it has means the growth rate is actually very slow. Okay, and that slow growth rate is because whatever the means the components or the growth media component that are present, and that is always a a resistance is there when it is grown in form of a semi-solid structure. Okay, and that is why the growth rate is very less. So if you look into the other alcoholic fermentations, for example, the laser beer, or for example, if we have the wine or the whiskey, in which for example the raw material is the wort grape juice. So wort is nothing, so we will look into the what is an wort. Okay, so it is a mixture of different fruit derivatives that are there. Okay, and like in the case of the wine production, people use the raw material as a grape juice. In the whiskey production, we have the cereal mash, okay, as the raw material, and the fermentation time actually varies. So for the beer production, it is laser beer, it is from 8 to 10 days. The wine, it is from 5 to 10 days. Whiskey, it is for 3 days. And if you look into this, the main thing part to note is the yeast cell count. So if you see the means the starting yeast cell count at the start was around 6 to 10, but we can see that at the end it is almost that cell count is increasing by the 7 times. Okay, and all these fermentations are nothing but this fermentation are carried out in a submerged culture. That means the cells are they're floating in the liquid media, right? So under that liquid media condition, what is happening? The efficient transfer of the media components to the cell biomass is taking place. Okay, so that's why the productivity as well as the yeast, means and the biomass concentration, the increase in the biomass concentration is actually significantly higher. So in the case of the laser weight, we can see it's 7 times. In case of the wine, it is almost 15 times for both the wine and this whiskey. So, and what is the advantage? If we have this higher yeast cell count, obviously we will get obtain the higher concentration of the final product, in this case is the ethanol. Now, if you look into the final ethanol concentration, so in the case of the bread dough, as we will see in our subsequent slides, that in the bread dough, the main target is to improve the biomass concentration, and in improving the biomass concentration and not the production of the ethanol. So the pathway is different than the pathways that is being used for the alcoholic beverage production. Okay, so in the case of the lager beer, the final concentration is around 4%. The table wine is in the range of 11 to 13, and the whiskey, it is 7 to 9. So this is the final ethanol concentration. A point to remember is the final ethanol concentration in the fermentation batch. Okay, and after that, these are taken out. Okay, and then downstream processing is being carried out to improve the overall ethanol concentration or the purity of the product. Okay, so this final ethanol concentration tells after the fermentation, in which there is a mixture of other media components or the other the biomass and other things are mixed with it. Okay, and after that the ethanol is separate out through the distillations, and then purification and other things are carried out. Okay, and then what is going to happen? The ethanol concentration, all those things is going to change. The purity is going to change. Okay, so from this table, what we can see, that if the fermentation is carried out in a semi-solid nature of this type of bread and dough, that biomass concentration, desired biomass concentration, cannot be obtained. So in the suppose if we compare with the other fermentation processes using the same microorganism. So one thing is that the in this particular case, the yeast that is being taken is the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, so taking the same microorganisms, as we talked, the different products can be produced, and you can see the variation in their microbial or the biomass production. So because so we looked into this disadvantage. Because of this type of disadvantages, actually a separate process or separate industrial process was important for the production of the baker's yeast. Because if you see, until 19th century, the baker's yeast was used is a simultaneous for the simultaneous production of the ethanol. Okay, so whenever there is a in the breweries, the ethanol was produced, and after that, what was the left beer behind the semi-solid was there, that was actually used as a baker's yeast by the food industries for the bakery applications. But several disadvantages was found, and then a separate process and separate industries for the large scale production of this type of yeast was developed. Okay, and we will see into these details, like what is the particular process of this baker's yeast production, and then what are the differences of the pathways for the ethanol production and the this baker's yeast production. So this is a brief overview on how this baker's yeast industry came up. Okay. So any doubts or question? Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let us look into now the what is the difference in the pathways. So we have already seen the anaerobic, already studied the ethanol fermentation process, right, in detail, where we have seen that in the case of the alcoholic fermentations, it was carried out under the anaerobic conditions, and uh, in during this process, we found out that two ATPs, where if we see the overall reaction, where the glucose is converted to the, for example, glucose is converted to the ethanol, it was accompanied by the release of two ATPs. Okay. Now, what we are going to see is in the presence of the aerobic conditions. So, and one thing to mention is that it is the same yeast that is being used. Okay. So, uh, the yeast mostly that is used is the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, and however, there are other derivatives that are also used, but if you see, the most widely used is the Saccharomyces cerevisiae is there. Okay, so in the case, if we means if you look into what is the basic difference in that, so if that same yeast is grown in the presence of the oxygen, what is happening? There is a large production of the ATPs. Okay, and in this case, we have the 38 ATPs being produced, and in the anaerobic process, two ATPs are produced. Now, why these 38 ATPs are produced? We will going to look into the biosynthetic pathways, and from there we can understand why there is a difference in the production of the ATP. So, if we look into the starting pathway, we have seen that the fermentation starts with the glucose derivative, where the glucose was converted to the glucose 1,6 phosphate, and then glucose 6 phosphate, and then it was converted to glucose 1,6 diphosphate, and so on. And means this glucose was actually converted to a glycolysis pathway to the pyruvate, right? And then to the pyruvate, it was after it was the pyruvate was produced, then anaerobic condition was maintained. Okay, and this pyruvate was converted to acetaldehyde, and the ethanol was produced. And this ethanol, actually, depending upon the concentration of it, either it is used in the alcoholic beverages, or it is used, for example, in the energy application as a fuel derivative, as a biofuel, and so on. But so this is what the anaerobic process for the alcohol fermentation is based on. But when we have the aerobic fermentation process, in this case, what is going to change? So the pathway from the glycolysis pathway, that is from the glucose to the pyruvate, remains unchanged. Okay, so if you look into the biosynthesis pathway, so these particular steps remains the same, but after that pyruvate is there. So once it reaches to the pyruvate product, then it can undergo another additional, it takes a different biochemical pathway, which is called as a TCA cycle, or it is also called as a citric acid cycle. Okay, so we will look into that, what is a TCA cycle and what is a citric acid cycle, and how it helps in the increase in the biomass concentration. So in this case of the anaerobic process, our target is to produce the C2H5OH, that is the ethanol. But in the case of the aerobic process, our target is to produce the biomass. So what is the biomass? Biomass is nothing but the yeasts. Okay, so we would like to increase the biomass concentration of the yeast, and that means we need to maximize the growth rate. Okay, the specific growth rate that we have seen. So we would like to maximize the growth rate such that we have more concentration of the yeast cells. So suppose initially we have a starting seed solution. Okay, and after that the fermentation is carried out, we would like to have the higher concentration of the yeast. So it is a very simple fermentation process compared to the ethanol production. But you can see this particular point at which the decision is taken place, that either the pyruvate, either it will be used for go for the production of the ethanol, or it will follow this TCA cycle for the production of the biomass. Actually is a means this particular point is called as a branch point. Okay, so at this until before this, that glucose to the pyruvate, these pathways remains unchanged for both the aerobic and the anaerobic cases. So at this particular point, once the pyruvate is produced, two things are looked into consideration. The first thing is that either so there are two things. One, the first part being the oxygen concentration, and the second part being the glucose the concentration. Okay, so if it is if it is having the very high oxygen concentration, then it would go to the production of the biomass. If it is having the low glucose concentration, it will again go to the production of the biomass. Okay, either, and if it is the opposite, like if it is having the lower oxygen concentration, okay, then it will again form the ethanol, or if it is having the higher glucose concentration. Okay, now why this that this oxygen concentration is going to, or the glucose concentration is going to affect the pathways, we will look into that. So this oxygen can be easily be described like one of the process is an anaerobic process. So anaerobic means it should be in the absence of the oxygen, and the aerobic means it should be in the presence of the oxygen. So so the basic pathway, because this basic pathway requires oxygen to propagate. So in the presence of the oxygen, this TCA cycle is actually carried out. Okay, and if the oxygen is not present, okay, in that case the fermentation of the ethanol takes place. Now coming to the second point, like what is the effect, or why there is the effect of glucose, we will look into these subsequent slides. But before that, we can say that this particular branch point is a decision point for the carbon flow, depending upon the oxygen tension and the sugar in the medium. So during the fermentation, whenever you are carrying out in the bioreactor system, so what we do is we obviously maintain. We have seen that in the case of the ethanol fermentation, we make sure we have a closed system bioreactor, so that that we can create an anaerobic environment, okay, by removing the oxygen, or we can sparge, for example, the oxygen gas using the sparger to increase the oxygen concentration for the production of the biomass. Similarly, how we are adding the glucose. So we have seen in the ethanol fermentation that for example, that at high concentration means we generally carry out the fed batch process, right? So in the fed batch process, how much concentration of the glucose you are adding? Okay, during the fermentation process, either you are maintaining a high glucose or you are maintaining a low glucose content. Depending upon that, we can actually tune the production of the ethanol or the biomass respectively. So if we look into the TCS cycle. Okay, so this particular TCA cycle, if you look into the details of the TCA cycle, what is happening? Okay, so this particular reaction tells you the overall, the overall chemical reaction that for the production of 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 the Saccharomyces cerevisiae or the biomass, okay, or which is the main product or the baker's yeast. Okay, so this shows the overall reaction in which, in this case, the carbon source is the glucose, and the main thing is that it is carried out in the presence of the oxygen and the presence of the other nutrients. We will look into the other nutrients in our subsequent slides, but the main objective is to increase the biomass concentration. It releases the carbon dioxide and the amount of ATP this is produced. So if you look into in the case of the means in the using this pathway, like the glycolysis pathway followed by this TCA cycle, we have the higher ATP generation of 38 ATPs. Okay, and in the case of the this particular pathway in the ethanol production, we have a generation of the 2 ATPs. Now we have already discussed that what is the significance of the ATP. So ATP is nothing but a source of an energy. Okay, and this energy source actually is required for the metabolism of the cells. And that means if the ATPs are produced at a higher concentration, for example, the ATPs can be used by the cells to increase its it helps to improve the specific growth rate or the microbial growth rate of the microorganisms. Okay, so if so in this case, basically, as we see that in this particular TCA cycle, we will see what are the steps of the TCA cycle and why we have so much high concentration of the ATP. But this presence of this high concentration of ATP or the higher energy source leads to the improved growth rate of the microorganism or the growth rate of the yeast. Okay, and that's why the concentration of the biomass actually significantly improves. Okay, so that is why generally in the case of means in the Baker's yeast, this particular TCA cycle is carried out, and this TCA cycle is gets activated only in the presence of the higher oxygen concentration and lower glucose concentration. Okay. So this is the basic requirement to activate, for example, the TCA cycle. And if you look into the TCA cycle, what happens after the pyruvate? So once the pyruvate is produced, and after that, the microorganism senses higher oxygen concentration or the lower glucose environment. What happens? Pyruvate is converted to the acetyl CoA. Okay, and this acetyl CoA this conversion of this acetyl CoA into it enters into the TCA cycle only in the presence of the oxygenated environment, and so this acetyl CoA is converts into the citrate. Okay, which is so this citrate is nothing but a particular derivative also used for the citric acid. So for example, if you would like to produce so here we are talking about the Baker's yeast production, which is our target is to for example improve the biomass concentration. But for example, if your target is to produce citric acid, okay, so in that case also you can use you can follow this particular biochemical pathway, but these other subsequent steps, if you see in this TCA cycle, that has to be inhibited. Okay, so some of the biochemicals like the citric acid, succinic acid, the fumaric acid, or the malic acid, for example, are also produced using the this TCA cycle. Okay, so those we will not go into those things in detail, but our main objective is to understand how we can increase the biomass concentration in the case of the Baker's yeast. Okay, so this acetyl CoA undergoes a conversion to the citrate. Okay, and then citrate is converted to the alpha ketoglutarate, and in doing so, it releases the 3 ATP molecules. Okay, and then alpha ketoglutarate converts into the succinate, and then there is a release of 3 ATP molecules, and then succinate, okay, converts to the fumarate, which releases the 3 ATP molecules. Okay, and then the fumarate converts to the malate, and in this intermediate step, the ATPs are not released. But when the malate is converted to oxaloacetate, there is a release of these 3 ATP. So we can, if we calculate the total ATP release, like it is 3, 6, 9, and 12. Okay, so is 12 ATP released, and then we have here the 3 ATPs coming from the the conversion of the pyruvate to the acetyl CoA, right? And another thing, if you remember from the glycolysis pathway, so one glucose molecules can release the two pyruvate, the 2 moles of pyruvate can be produced, right? So if we combine the total ATP released from this TCA cycle, and if we take into the total ATP that comes from the glycolytic pathway, from this glucose to pyruvate, there is a release of the 8 ATPs. Okay, and if you see the total ATP combination of the ATPs that is synthesized in each and every step of the TCA cycle, that sums up to the 38 ATPs. Okay, and the ATPs, as we have sold, is is nothing but the source of the energy. So this presence of the higher concentration of the ATP ideally helps in the metabolic activity of the yeasts. Okay, and when the yeast are metabolically active, what will happen? It will grow its concentration, or it will grow its own number. Okay, so overall biomass concentration significantly improves, and that is what our target is, to obtain the higher biomass concentration, so that we have the higher Becker yeast concentration of the Becker yeast or the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, so so this is the means the pathway. Like if you go for the ethanol production, we have also talked about this feedback control loop, like how the ethanol is actually controlling the overall pathway, because the excess, as the ethanol is higher in the concentration, then the metabolism of this conversion of this glucose to the ethanol actually decreases. Okay, so but in this particular case, in the aerobic fermentation, there is no effect of the feedback control. So if the biomass concentration is higher, that doesn't affects that actually increases the rate of the glucose uptake. Okay, so that doesn't affects the overall pathway. So generally, when this particular pathway is followed under the aerobic conditions, we obtain the very high biomass or the high cell concentration within a very reduced fermentation time compared to the ethanol production. So we know the ethanol production actually takes like for the production of the different alcoholic beverages and so on, it takes a lot of time. But in the case of this Becker's yeast production, if you see the time frame is very less, like 1 to 5 hour, if you compare it with the other the ethanol productions. Okay, so that is why if you are asked like why the fermentation time for the this yeast production is very less compared to the alcoholic beverage production, that is because of that is because that as the biomass concentration is increases with the increase in the production of this ATP in the presence of the oxygen environment, the glucose uptake increases, and there is an absence of any feedback control loop as it is present in the ethanol production process. Okay, so if you look into the overall that what is the energy released, so if you see that one ATP molecule corresponds to around 20 around 26 point, or I think 28.5 kilocalories. Okay, so if 2 ATPs are released, the total energy release is 57 kilocalories. But in the case of the Becker's yeast production, 38 ATP molecules are released, which corresponds to around 686 kilocalories. Okay, and this energy, what I mean, because if you look into the in the biochemical pathways, see the ATPs are required at each and every the biochemical biosynthetic pathways and the steps. Okay, so this energy that is being released is consumed by the yeast for the production of its biomass, and what is happening, the final concentration of the biomass is going to increase in the lower time frame. Now so this phenomena, so like in this case, for example, so so here what we are having, we are having a single yeast cells, like we are having a Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and so we have a particular one type of microorganism. Okay, and we are keeping the same sugar concentration, sugar type, like the glucose. So we can tune the fermentation, either we can make it for the production of the ethanol, or we can carry out for the production of the biomass. Okay, so this overall phenomena of that switching the fermentation from the ethanol to the biomass production, or from the biomass production to the ethanol production. So this overall phenomena is called as a Crabtree effect. Okay, so we will look into the what is the details of the Crabtree effect. So this there are two effects. It's one is called the Crabtree effect, and another effect that is called as a Pasteur effect. So we will look into this phenomena and of these two Crabtree effect, of the Crabtree and Pasteur effect, in our next class, and then we look into that based on these two effects, how we can suppose select the media components, like what should be the carbon source, energy source, what should be the pH, the nitrogen source, the temperature, the other vitamins, minerals, okay, that is required for the Baker's yeast production, and how, like we have seen in the case of ethanol production, that what are the roles of the different carbon sources. We will look into this in the next class. So anyone has any questions or doubts? Anyone? Hello. So if there is no questions, then we will discuss on this further in our next class. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.